the man too powerful to be arrested. They said his name in whispers, not because it was sacred, but because saying it out loud had consequences. In this town, power didn't wear a badge. It wore tailored suits, drove black SUVs, and never answered questions. And for years, one man stood above the law, untouched, unbothered, unafraid. They called him the man too powerful to be arrested. But this story isn't about him. It's about the one person he never saw coming. Evan Cole worked nights at the county records office, a windowless basement where fluorescent lights hummed like mosquitoes. He wasn't a detective. He wasn't a journalist. He was a clerk, quiet, overlooked, paid just enough to stay quiet. People like Evan don't shake systems. They file paperwork for the people who do. His father used to say, "Keep your head down. The world rewards silence." Then, his father died in a hit and run that was ruled an accident. In under 48 hours, the driver was never found. The file was sealed. Evan was 19. He learned early how quickly truth could be buried when the wrong name surfaced. Years later, that name crossed his desk again. Marcus Vail, philanthropist, real estate magnate, political donor. His face smiled from billboards funding schools and hospitals. His name echoed in council chambers. When Marcus Vail walked into a room, decisions bent around him. When a young woman disappeared near one of Vail's construction sites, the case stalled. When a whistleblower died in a single car crash after testifying about zoning fraud tied to Vail's companies, the investigation ended quietly. Patterns formed, then vanished. Evan noticed because noticing was his job. One night, a misfiled document landed in Evan's tray, a property transfer dated 2 weeks after a fatal accident, notarized by a clerk who'd retired years earlier. It bore Vail's signature. The stamp was wrong. The ink was wrong. The timing was impossible. Evan flagged it. His supervisor told him to unflag it. "Don't chase ghosts," she said, eyes fixed on her screen. The dramatic irony was cruel. The town believed the system protected them. Evan knew it protected Marcus Vail. Evan started staying late. He cross-referenced permits, death reports, sealed motions. He built timelines no one asked for. He learned the rhythm of power: delay, distract, donate. Then the pressure came. A parking ticket he never received turned into a warrant. His landlord suddenly wanted to sell. His phone clicked during calls. A black SUV idled outside his building at night, engine humming like a warning. Marcus Vail never contacted Evan directly. He didn't have to. Power rarely dirties its hands. The break came at 2:13 a.m. when Evan found a scanned memo buried in an old server backup, an internal email, discussing risk mitigation, tied to a construction delay. Attached was a map. A red X marked the spot where Evan's father had died. Evan sat alone in the glow of the monitor, hand shaking. The memo predated the accident by 3 days. This wasn't coincidence. This was choreography. He took the evidence to internal affairs. They thanked him and opened a preliminary review. 2 days later, the review closed. Evan was reassigned to shredding. Most people would stop there. That's what the system counted on. Evan didn't stop. He copied everything. He anonymized metadata. He sent encrypted packets to a reporter who'd been sued into silence before, and one federal investigator with a reputation for being unbuyable. Then Evan waited. Marcus Vail announced a new donation. Cameras flashed. Applause roared. Behind the scenes, subpoenas quietly moved. Warrants were drafted under seal. A judge from outside the district signed off. The power shift was subtle, almost invisible, like a tide turning under fog. Vail never looked at Evan, but he felt him. Banks froze accounts temporarily. A private jet was grounded for a routine check. A charity audit expanded. One by one, Vail's lieutenants hired lawyers. Some flipped. The town noticed something was wrong when Marcus Vail missed a gala. Evan watched the news from his apartment, heart pounding. Justice didn't arrive with sirens. It arrived with paperwork. At dawn, agents executed search warrants at 3 of Vail's offices. Boxes came out. Servers followed. By evening, the headline read, "Business Titan under federal investigation. Not arrested." Investigated. People asked why it took so long. They didn't ask who paid the price while they waited. Evan visited his father's grave that night. He didn't speak. He just stood there, breathing. The wind moving through the trees like a held promise. Power depends on silence. Not fear, silence. Evan learned that justice doesn't need heroes. It needs persistence. It needs records kept by people no one notices. It needs underdogs who refuse to believe they're small. The system failed because people let it. It changed because one person didn't. At 11:47 p.m., Evan's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single message appeared. You should have stayed quiet. Below it, a photo, grainy, taken from across the street, of Evan standing at his father's grave. The next morning, Marcus Vale's attorney announced a press conference, and the man too powerful to be arrested was about to go on the offensive. Because this wasn't over. It was only beginning. The press conference was scheduled for noon, but the damage began long before the cameras came on. Evan woke to the sound of pounding on his door, sharp and insistent, the kind that didn't ask permission. When he opened it, two uniformed officers stood there, polite smiles stretched thin. They weren't there to arrest him. That was the point. They handed him a notice, an inquiry, they said. Routine questions about improper access to county records. Marcus Vale still hadn't been arrested, but somehow Evan was already being treated like a suspect. That was how power worked. Vale's attorney stood behind a podium hours later, voice calm, rehearsed, painting a picture of a respected businessman under attack by disgruntled individuals and fabricated documents. He never said Evan's name. He didn't need to. By evening, anonymous blogs did it for him. Evan Cole, basement clerk, radical, unstable, a man obsessed with his father's death. The irony cut deep. For years, the truth had been ignored. Now lies traveled faster than facts ever could. Evan stopped going outside. He watched the world through screens, scrolling headlines that bent reality into something unrecognizable. Friends from work stopped replying. His supervisor left a voicemail, advising him to take some personal time. The message was clear. You're alone now. The reporter Evan had trusted called late that night, her voice tight. She'd been hit with a lawsuit, defamation, breach of confidentiality, intentional harm. Her editor was backing out. The story was being buried again. Evan felt the old weight settle in his chest, the same helplessness he'd felt standing over his father's grave years ago. This was how it ended. It always was. Except this time, something unexpected happened. The federal investigator, the unbuyable one, sent a single email. Still standing. Still moving. Don't respond. Don't run. Let them overplay their hand. Evan didn't know whether to believe him, but he had nothing left to lose. The pressure intensified. His bank account was flagged. His credit score collapsed overnight. A false charge appeared on his record. Just enough to ruin him, not enough to justify outrage. Vale's people were careful. They always were. But power has a weakness. It grows arrogant when it thinks it's winning. The mistake came 3 days later, when Marcus Vale sued Evan directly. Civil court. Public filings. Discovery. For the first time, Vale's lawyers had to put their names on paper and answer questions under oath. The lawsuit was meant to crush Evan financially, to intimidate him into silence. Instead, it opened doors Vale had kept locked for decades. Documents poured in, thousands of pages of contracts, shell companies, offshore transfers. Evan didn't read them alone. The investigators' team did. Patterns emerged. Money moved the same way bodies had fallen, quietly, efficiently, always followed by silence. Then someone flipped. A former executive, terminally ill, tired of carrying secrets to the grave. He handed over recordings, phone calls, orders disguised as suggestions. Marcus Vale's voice, unmistakable, discussing problems and permanent solutions. The tapes leaked 2 days before the rescheduled press conference. This time, Marcus Vale's smile didn't reach his eyes. Reporters shouted questions he couldn't deflect. The word arrest finally appeared in headlines. Cautiously, almost afraid of itself. Warrants followed. Not for everything. Not yet. But enough. When federal agents walked Marcus Vale out of his glass tower in handcuffs, the crowd was silent. Power looks smaller when it's exposed. Evan watched it live, hands trembling, tears he didn't expect burning his eyes. It wasn't triumph he felt. It was release. The town reacted slowly. Some people denied it. Some defended Vale, clinging to the comfort of the lie. Others began telling stories they'd kept buried for years. Disappearances, threats, payoffs. The silence broke, and once broken, it couldn't be repaired. Evan testified weeks later. He wasn't eloquent. He didn't try to be. He spoke plainly, carefully, knowing every word mattered. He talked about documents, timelines, and the cost of looking away. He talked about his father. When he stepped down, no one applauded. This wasn't that kind of justice. Vale was denied bail. Investigations expanded. Names surfaced. Judges, officials, donors. The system began to eat its own. But power doesn't die quietly. That night, as Evan packed a small bag, preparing to relocate under federal protection, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time, no words. Just a video. Shaky footage from inside a dim room. Marcus Vale, unshaven, furious, staring straight into the camera. "You think this ends with me?" he said. "You think they won?" The video cut to black. Evan looked out the window at the city he'd exposed, wondering how many other men like Marcus Vale still walked free, protected by silence, waiting. Justice had been served, but not finished. And somewhere, in the spaces power still controlled, something was already moving.